All right, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Excuse Me Brother podcast show. And tonight we got a good one for y'all. I'm your host, Brother Jay. With me, I got my co-hosts, Brother Tay and producer Jay. And like I said, we got a good one for y'all tonight because we have another guest tonight. We got a good one. We got the smart money bro. We got him, y'all. We got him, Mr. Eric Bowie, financial expert. Mr. Bowie, Brother Bowie, welcome to the show. It's nice to have you here. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Glad to be here and looking forward to sharing with you guys and just swapping out and talking and having a good time and trying to drop a little knowledge for you guys here today.
You see how rude Brother Jay is? He don't even let me and producer Jay even talk. He just says our days and just
Right?
let us go.
Well, we have our test.
I'm trying to get right into it, y'all. His time is limited.
Yeah.
We got a late start. My apologies, but we here, so we're gonna get this thing rolling. Brother Bowie, you are a financial expert. I just wanted to share a little bit of how I found you. I think someone I think we're in a couple of the same Facebook groups when it comes to money. Like I think the Black Travel Movement, the Blackout Coalition, and a couple of other black centric Facebook groups. And there was some post that you made. I forget which one it was exactly because this was about a year and a half ago. And you were breaking down something about real estate. And I was like, let me watch this brother's videos. And I immediately got hooked. Because I was like, look, we finally got another black man who's out here trying to break down the financial game in ways that we can understand, like the regular common man, and especially young people like me and my co-hosts here. Tay and Jay, have y'all ever heard of him before?
I heard of him through you. I haven't heard of him otherwise. But once you said, I did a little bit of research, and he sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
I've never until you mentioned his name. I did not know of this. I'm not really one of the people who follows like real estate and financial things. Probably should. Also, I'm old. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no young. There's no youth in this. I have an old body. I am freezing cold.
Old soul.
So
this body gave up on me a long time ago. I ain't gonna lie to you.
It's all right. So, Brother Bowie, can you just give us a little bit of backdrop on your history and where you're from, how long you've been doing this financial game, and just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, appreciate it, guys. Again, thanks for having me. My personal story is I've been around for quite a while. I'm in my 50s, so I'm not a young spring, not a young guy. But my personal story really starts, guys. I'm from Kansas City area, Kansas City, Kansas, to be exact. Now, if you know anything about Kansas City, there's KCK and there's KC-Mo. Okay, I'm from the Kansas side of Kansas City. Okay, grew up, pretty poor. Food stamps, welfare. After I was 10 years old, single mom, youngest of 5 kids. So I grew up in a, moving around a lot, didn't have a lot, and came from the inner city. Just a regular old person, nobody special, nothing special. But I went on, poor grades in high school. Not that I was not smart. I just didn't try. Didn't give too much effort. And when I graduated high school, I think I had a 1.8 GPA or something like that in high school. Didn't have much, but hey, by the time I went to community college, I think I went to community college a year later because it was cheap. And I was supposed to go. You know how it is. Yeah. Everybody thinks you're still halfway smart, so you decide to go.
All too well.
So I went. My first year at community college, I had a 1.75 GPA, and I was on academic probation. Again, here's the kicker, though. The kicker was this. I was always told since I was young that I was bright. That was the word they used, bright. Well, he's bright. He's smart. He's smart, but he doesn't apply himself, right? So I never applied myself. But in terms of academically, when I started to apply myself was when I was 20 years old. No, I was 19 years old. and I had set out after I was on that academic probation. I set out for a semester. Then I took 6 hours another semester. And then I said I had a bright idea and said, you know what? I want to be a school teacher. I think I was 19 years old. I said, I think I want to be a school teacher because my birthday's in the summer. So when I graduated, I was like 17. So I said, I think I want to be a school teacher. So guess what? For the next 2 years, I went back to the community college for 2 years in a row. I got straight A's.
Nice.
Boom, straight A's.
There you go.
Because all along, I always knew that I could do it. It was just a matter of me turning it into action. So I said, let me turn this on. Boom, and I got straight A's, and I went and I moved my GPA up to 2.5, and I said I got to go to an in-state college because I can't afford an out-of-state college. So it was between Kansas State and KU University, right?
Mhm.
Because they were in-state and they were cheap. Well, in order to get into KU school education, you had to get a 2.75 GPA. But to get into K-State, you can have a 2.5. So boom, I got a 2.55, transferred my credits down to Kansas State University at the age of 22. I went down there with no car, got a part-time job at Wendy's, and I rode the bus back and forth because I got an apartment, and I got food stamps. The day I went down there, I went ahead and applied for food stamps so I can get food stamps as a grown person. And I just made it work. And now I was going to college. Boom, I had some direction. I knew I could, make these straight A's and all this good stuff. And next thing you know, when I was 24 years old, I graduated with a degree in education.
Nice.
And I was a seventh grade school teacher for 7 years.
Wow.
Oh,
That's that's part of my academic background.
34. Ooh, no, I'm wrong.
so that's where. So okay, because when I watch your videos,
Uh-huh.
it sounds like you had that teacher's acumen. You know what I'm saying? Like you have that teacher vibe. Well, I always felt like I was in a classroom when I was watching your videos. I could be in a car, I could be in my house, I could be at work, and I'm watching your videos. I'm like, I should write that down. I should take note of that. So I can understand that. Your teacher background and see where it came from.
That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat you said that. That's interesting. So I always hear that, man, that, I kind of have that teacher feel, that educational feel. And I think that's where it came from because I said, hey, I want to be a teacher. So I spent my 20s as a teacher teaching young people and also coaching. I was a coach, basketball coach, coached a lot of basketball, middle school, high school, boys. I'm a parent. So I got 3 kids. And so when I got married, when I was 30, I didn't get married till I was 30 years old. But we had our children, raised our children. I was a teenage dad. I had my son when I was 18 years old.
Ah,
So I have a son that's 32 years old.
oh wow.
32, 33. He's 33. So I have a son that's older. I have daughters that are in their 20s. So I've been teaching and instructing and feeling like a teacher or feeling like I had something to share with the world for a long time, even before I became an actual educator. So I did that for a lot of years, man. Work with people, helping people. So now I get a chance to help people also through things like YouTube, podcasts, etc. So it's interesting that you saw that when you observed that. That was it's pretty sharp.
I'm not gonna lie. When you first started talking to us, when we first started talking in the room, my brain, because I've been a sports kid. I was in basketball team since I was 6.
Oh yeah.
As soon as you started talking, my brain's like, he gives me a coach vibe. I don't like this at all.
You know what I think it is? I just have this authority thing. I think that I like to be in authority or act like I'm in authority.
It's okay. I get the same thing from when some people meet me too, because I also coach basketball. My aunt was a basketball coach who got injured before she got to do the Olympics for women's basketball. So I helped her coach growing up. Both Jays don't know about this.
Yeah,
I was
but
gonna say,
told us
what?
this.
I coached a lot of kids. Actually, the oldest, I think the most successful kid that made it from my aunt and me is Terrence Mann of the Clippers. My aunt keeps it.
Oh, that's pretty high up.
My aunt still keeps in track with his mother.
Really?
Mhm.
Terrence Mann is big time, man. That's pretty cool. I still watch a lot of NBA every day. I'm watching. There's some games on right now. I'm gonna watch as soon as we get done. So I'm a big basketball man.
What's your favorite team?
Terrence Mann is big time.
What's your favorite team?
You know what, man? I don't have a favorite team. I like the game, and so it depends. Certain personalities on certain rosters. I don't like Golden State.
Oh,
Can't stand Golden State.
excuse me, bro. Why not?
Yeah,
I can't
it's too
stand
easy.
Golden State, man. I think they're first of all, I didn't like the fact that they won two championships and they went out and got KD. Come on now, that's you win 70 games one year and you go out and get one of the best players in the world.
I
That's
feel like that's K. I didn't blame that on them. I blamed that on KD because
But KD
as
too,
an
yeah.
ownership, you
He was
you
ring
got to try
chasing.
to get what's good.
that
He
was
was
a
ring
cheesy
chasing.
move, man. So I always say this: they won two championships. That's all that counts. I don't care about them other two they won with KD, and KD won two championships. So in my mind, they didn't win four; they only won two. That's just me.
I respect it. I respect it.
Technically, they won 3. You want to count last year?
No, they
You
won
talking about that one?
two.
I know I'm talking about. I know I'm talking about, but they technically have 3 now. If we were not going to count the KD ones.
No, two.
Oh, there's 2. Oh, is it? Yeah,
They
you're
won
right.
in 15, and then last year he doesn't count the 2 that they won with KD.
No, you're right. I don't know why I thought he won 5.
Doesn't
My
count.
brain's a little all over the place.
No, that's cool. So that's guys. That's my kind of my academic background, and ever since 2002, for the last 20 years, I've worked for the federal government. And what I do for the federal government is manage contracts. And I've been managing contracts about 14 or 15 years for the federal government. And when I say manage contracts, I work with, you know, procurement, bringing on contractors as a contracting officer, warranted contracting officer for the federal government. I've been so, and when I say contractor, I'm saying that, we work with small businesses that want to do business with the federal government and provide services or goods to the federal government. I would manage those. I've been managing those contracts for quite a while. I did construction for a lot of years, leasing services for a lot of years. So that's what I do now. And I also kind of work with and help small businesses understand the government contracting space. I mean, the government last year did over $600 billion worth of contracts, more than 120 billion dollars with small businesses. So a lot of people don't understand that if you have a small business, you can get government contracts, and here's how you get them. And I can explain. I can do a 3-hour symposium on how to go about getting government contracts and learning that space, becoming a small business. So I do a little of that on the side as well. Um, but I do so much, man. I also own real estate, obviously, as you've seen from some of the videos I've done. So, and I've been in the real estate game since 2000 when I bought my first piece of property in 2000, um, managing and owning my own rentals. So I do a lot of stuff with helping people with that. I'm on a planning and zoning committee or commission for the city I live in. In other words, Taco Bell wants to come to your city. They got to submit plans. We have to plat that. They might have a conditional use permit. So I do all that for the city that I live in as well. So I'm on the Planning and Zoning Commission as a commissioner. Um, I also do a YouTube channel, write a blog, help people one-on-one with their money. Because another big piece of my story is where I've been in terms of money, right? And
Right.
that's why I call myself Smart Money Bro. Because when I was 30 years old, I had zero. I had nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean my net worth back then when I figured it was about negative $30,000. Um, Meaning I didn't even live in a house that I knew the owner until I was 30 years old and bought my first piece of property. So, like I say, I grew up in apartments, man, apartments and rental houses and so forth. My mother and father didn't own a house. My mother and father didn't have high school diplomas. Okay. So when I finally said, okay, I'm going to get myself together and I'm going to start, I was teaching school and I started learning about a little bit about money and I started learning about real estate. I began to turn my financial situation around at the same time. Of course, not to mention, also to mention that in 2000, I became a Christian, okay, a born again Christian, right? So in 2000, a lot happened, right? Around that time, at the end of my teaching spot when I was teaching. So I had a negative $30,000 net worth. Over the next 20 years, I built that to almost 7-figure net worth. And the reason I like to be honest and say almost 7 figures, because I'm not a flashy person. I don't have I drive a 2007 Toyota Camry. Okay. And my wife drives a 2015 Camry, paid for. My daughters have Camrys. Now my son, he's married and has kids, so I'm a grandfather, but I don't have. He didn't go to Toyota route, right? But
Oh, I was supposed to say this Camry, like this Camry dealership is working out.
so that's part of my thing, man. Is that I was able, and I say, let me go get back to that. So I figured my net worth a couple of times a year, and because the market, as you guys know, has been down, way down this year, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Over Nasdaq and Dow Jones and S&P down 20%, this year.
Hmm.
Now, had that been not 20%, had it been a more normal year, my net worth would be over seven figures at this point. But I say that to this, I say that because we see a lot of gurus on the internet, right? On YouTube and on Instagram, you name it, right? And they're always touting seven figures and seven figures. But sometimes they don't really show you, and they're not as honest as possible, right? So when I talk to people, I want to be as upfront and honest and say, hey, I'm not quite at seven figures, right? Net worth wise, but I'm really, really close. And I'm talking in the mid 900s, right? But the reason I'm not seven figures, and I did a YouTube video about this, is because the market is down. Had the market been just even an average market, right, then I would probably be over seven figures. Half of that is in things that we put away to the side since I've been investing and working at jobs, but the other half is real estate. But that is kind of my story in terms of money, guys. I started with zero, negative zero. Matter of fact, I was 30 years old, living in an apartment. I could tell you the address of the apartment, but I won't. But I was living in an apartment. I had a 1996 Honda Civic. I had about 10 grand that I had from my teacher time, because when you're a teacher in any state, they make you put money back for your teacher's state retirement, right?
Hmm.
Whether it's New York or New Jersey, or whether it's Delaware or whatever, they have a system set up for all teachers, a retirement system, and you got to put money to the side. So in 2000,
Nice.
I had about 10 grand sitting over there. And when I went to go work for the federal government in 2022, ultimately I moved that money over to my federal government, and it's been growing ever since.
Hmm.
Ever since then. So the point is that that's all I had. I didn't have a house, didn't have no, had never, I didn't realize I could own a house. Okay. And I didn't have, and so I didn't have anything, but it's just grown and grown and grown. And I did some things between 2020, between 2000 and 2022. My lifestyle and habits is what allowed me to be able to grow my finances to where they are today. And that's why what I teach people is, I don't teach you to get rich quick. I don't teach you to invest in crypto and try to become a crypto big time Bitcoin, Shibu Inu, Shubu, whatever it is, right? It's not
Hmm.
FTX. What happened to FTX? But I don't teach that type of teaching because I'm a more of an old school person. In other words, I believe you got to take some time and you got to develop the right habits, and those right habits will turn into the fruition will be that you'll have something, right? Not that you got to go out and get it today or tomorrow. You got to be flashy and all that. I'm really old school. Take your time, be patient. Uh, Good habits will get you where you want to go over the course of time. So that's kind of what and that stuff is not real popular, right? You can't blow up on IG talking about be patient and take your time growing your wealth, right?
Right.
But
Right.
you could blow up on there if I went and rented a Maybach or something, and had a Bentley and did a bunch of videos, me sitting around a Bentley with a big suit and tie on, looking good, whiteboard out in front of on the street, right? But that's not my style, and it's not what I do. So I stick to what I know, and what I know is discipline with money, good habits over time, and that's what I teach. And that's what you see on those YouTube videos, is just being smart with your money and not doing. I'm not a big risk taking guy. Now you got to take some risk, right? When it comes to money, you can't just sit and be too too scared, too nervous, too fearful, right?
Hmm.
So I try to take and say, hey, what can I do to lower my risk, but still over time, being patient, grow my money. So I'm the old fashioned guy. I'm the old uncle, right? The old uncle that, talks about doing things the right way, and everybody says, shut up, man. We want to get rich right now. But, it's all about patient, living below your means. So I had a set few things that I did over those years, man. And that's what has helped grow my money to where it is. So I'm not sitting on 10 million. I'm not sitting on 5 million. I'm sitting on 900 something thousand, that as soon as the market turns around in the next 6 months, year and a half, it'll be over 1 million. And in 10 years from now, you get back with me, it'll be 3 million. It'll be 4 million. So that's kind of my story, a little bit about my background. I think there's a lot of stuff there that we could dig into, but that's a little bit about it.
It's like
So,
the true American.
go ahead, producer Jay. I'm
No, I
sorry.
was just gonna comment saying that's like the American dream, like what people talk about coming from the bottom to the top. Like that's very inspiring.
Appreciate it. Appreciate that.
So what are some of the habits that you started to employ when you started to make that change? You said the year 2000 was a big year for you. You made a lot of changes in your life. You became born again Christian. You started developing good habits, basically. What are some of those habits that you started to develop? And do you think that any of those habits are still employable for, say, our generation?
100%, 1000%, absolutely. You know, good principles, man, they don't really change over time, right? They worked back in 1950, they worked back in 2020, they work today. Good habits are good habits. They're just good principles to live by and to behave by, right? So some of the habits that one of the things I did, man, is since I moved out of my mother's house to go to college in 1992. Remember, I told you I got food stamps, right?
Hmm.
And so I had to start working on a budget, and I did a budget. I actually did a video on YouTube about, 300 some odd monthly budgets in a row that I did because I haven't missed a month of budget since the 1990s. Okay, since about 1993, 92. I haven't missed a month of doing a budget and a written budget. Now, that written budget was on a piece of notebook paper until about 2019, but 2019, I moved it into a Google spreadsheet. But for the most part, I budget my money every single month. And I've done that consistently for about 28, what is that, 30 years, consistently budgeting my money. Now that takes a lot of discipline, but it don't take a lot of time. Okay. It just takes a lot of discipline to be willing to sit down and do it. In other words, and here's why I do it, and I'll get to some other habits as well. But here's why I do a budget, because a budget makes me feel in control of my money. Okay, a budget gives me power, and a budget says, okay, $150. Here's what you're going to do. I'm going to tell you what to do. That way, the budget and the money's not telling me what to do and bossing me around like I'm some chump, right? Because I don't want to be a chump to my money. I want to tell my money what to do. So I say, hey, listen, here, $250. Here's what you do. $300. Here's what you do. Okay, here's envelope. Okay, and I still use the envelope system today, believe it or not. I've been using it since before I even heard of a Dave Ramsey. In the 1990s, I was taking my money and I had like 5 or 6 envelopes, and I had to put my food money here because I had to I had no car in 92, 93, 94. I had to walk to the grocery store and say, take my cash out, put it in my pocket. So I've been doing that, and I still do that today. To this day, believe it or not, worth almost 7 figures. I have a food envelope right over there, and go in there and get that money out and go buy food. Call me old school. I told you I'm old school, but this it's just discipline. The budget is about discipline. It's about having a set regimen of what you're going to do and being in control. Right? So many people feel like I don't know what to do. Man, I can't do this. I can't do that, and they let the money beat them up, right? And so I tell my money what to do, and I beat my money up. You're gonna do this, 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 this. And if I want to change something and make it a little bigger here and there, or make my miscellaneous a little bigger, or make my food a little bit, I do that. But it also forces me to think and organize my month in terms of cash, right? In terms of money. So it forces me to be organized. It gives me a sense of control and power. And guess what? It helps me understand what comes in and what goes
And what
out.
goes out?
So would you ever invest in a business that didn't know what came in and what go out? You would look at that business like, what y'all doing? I mean, y'all got to be organized, right? So I think of my household like a business. I got to be organized. I got to know exactly what comes in, and then guess what? I got to know exactly what goes out, because that's going to help me figure out the cushion I have that I'm going to invest with, or the cushion I have to get one of my grandkids a gift for their birthday. Right? I just had one. Kobe had a 4-year birthday. I have a grandson named Kobe LeBron, by the way.
Really?
My son named him Kobe.
Oh,
He
okay.
named LeBron. I know, call me weird, but Kobe's 4th birthday was just Friday. So if I have a budget, now I know what I can spend for my man on his birthday, right?
Mhm.
So That's what that's all about. That was a habit. Okay. So another habit, and I developed that habit back in the early 90s. Another habit is saying, okay, I need to focus on assets that appreciate. I need to focus around assets that appreciate. For the last 10 or 12 years or so, I've been figuring my net worth at least twice a year. Even when my net worth was $70,000, I was figuring it out twice a year. Okay. And I always said, I'm going to stop adding to the liability side and start building up the asset side. And that's been a focus. Anything you focus on grows, right? Whatever you focus on grows. So if I'm focused on my net worth is growing because I'm focused on appreciating assets and getting rid of depreciating assets that are going down in value. I don't want to make monthly payments on that. In 2010, I think 2010 or 11 is when I sent off my last car payment. So for the last 12 years or so, 11, 12 years, I haven't had a car payment. If I need to go, if I have a car, and I know you guys are maybe in New York, so you guys don't drive, but out here, you got to have cars, right? We got to get around.
Mm-hmm.
Train don't come everywhere,
Yep.
or the bus or whatever it is. But I said, I'm going to buy all my cars cash. Okay. So I buy all my cars cash. Some other habits is not taking on new debt unless that new debt is an appreciating asset. Okay. So if that new debt, because in 2004 and 5, I was buying some rental houses. If that new debt is appreciating asset like real estate, I'm cool with it, right? Because I know in 5 or 10 years, it'll be worth more. That adds to my asset side of the equation.
Right.
But if it's a depreciating asset, I'm not with it. I also stopped worrying about keeping up with the Joneses. That was very unimportant. It wasn't important when I was a kid, and it wasn't important when I was older. Never owned a pair of Air Jordans. Never owned a jersey that says, the Philadelphia Eagles on it, where I'll spend $85 on a jersey. This hat you're looking at right here, it's a hat, but it was a gift. Somebody gave this to me, matter of fact. So I don't spend a lot of money on things like clothes and trying to look good, trying to look fly, have the freshest new this, the freshest new that. I'm not into that type of stuff. It's just not the type of person I am. And so I said, okay, that's a habit. And that habit worked out well for me because I didn't have to have all the latest gadgets and things like that. So, I did a lot of stuff, a lot of habits. Also along the way, I also tried to figure out how can I make some side money. So some side income, because when I started teaching school back in 92, I was making $20,000 a year. When I was 30 years old, I was making $30,000 a year. When I first went to the government in 2002, I was making $32,000 a year. So, I'm 32 years old, not making much money. You know what I'm saying? How can I have some side hustles and side gigs? But usually that ended up being like I was a shoe salesman at Dillard's for a couple of years. I worked at Circuit City. You guys remember Circuit City?
Yes. I think we had maybe 4 of them in the city, guys, and they all just
went away.
They all just disappeared out of nowhere.
Like online, it was like
they went out of service with Best Buy
online or something like that.
Yeah, 1999, 2000. I was a salesman at Circuit City, meaning I was straight commission, but I did it on the side when I was teaching school. 2000, 2001, that was when I was at Dillard's. I've worked at Eddie Bauer on the side. I worked at Home Depot on the side. I'm in my 30s doing these side jobs, right, to make a little extra money to make ends meet. Then in 2012, my daughter was about to go to college. I had no money for college. Okay, we had no money. I told my kids early when they were in middle school, you either gonna get scholarships or you can go to community college.
Right.
All right. So by the time my daughter in 2012, she was in high school, she went out and got a bunch of scholarships, academic. And I started an eBay business in 2013. I started on Amazon and eBay. I said, I'm tired of sitting at Home Depot and Eddie Bauer. What can I do on my own? I started looking at YouTube videos, and this is 2012. Looking at YouTube videos. I'm going to sell on Amazon. So I got an Amazon account. I was rolling on Amazon. I bought me some books because back then Amazon was big on books, right? It wasn't, you couldn't buy headsets and stuff so much, but you could, but that wasn't the big thing. So I bought some books and I put them on Amazon. At the same time, I said, let me jump on eBay too and see which one's better. And lo and behold, my stuff on Amazon sat for a while. My stuff on eBay was flying off the shelf. I had
Mhm.
about 30 items. Then I bought some shoes. And these shoes, I bought them for like $4 or something at a Goodwill. Took them home, kind of, took a few pictures of them, put them on there. They sold for like $40. Like, what? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, $40. That's a nice little margin, right? 4
Mhm.
bucks,
Yeah.
40. So then I said, okay,
Uh-huh.
shoes. So I end up selling shoes on eBay from about 2013, mid 2013, several months after I started, until about 2019, real strong. Helped pay my daughter's way through college.
Wow.
She went through college debt free. I sold over $100,000 on eBay. I sold over $100,000 in the course of just doing it, 5 or 6 hours a week. It wasn't much. Going out sourcing, taking some shoes, shining them, getting them ready, boom, cleaning them up. And it wasn't sneakers, right? It wasn't. Remember, I said I worked at Dillard's. I was a shoe guy at Dillard's. I was a shoe.
Mhm.
So I knew how to sell shoes. I knew what to look for. So I used to go to Goodwills, estate sales, garage sales, pick up shoes for $2, $3, $5. And lo and behold, turn around, get them together, sell them for 30, 40, 50, 60, $80, $100. Sold a couple pair for $300 or $400. So I would just do that. So I did that to help pay my daughter's way through college, and she went through college debt free.
Wow.
One of
That's
my
Nice.
amazing.
That is
so I did that, and I finally got a little. eBay can be kind of labor intensive because I had I had like 300 or 400 items out there, and I kept all my. I didn't do drop shipping or anything, so I kept all my inventory here at home.
Mhm.
And so lo and behold, man, I did that for a while because I believe that I could. Okay, so this is one underlying thing that you guys got to remember, and this is the most underlying and probably the most important thing that I'm going to say is this. Ever since I was younger, I always believed that I could do anything I wanted to do. I could lock down Michael Jordan on the basketball court if I had to. And I really believed that, right? I still believe that I probably could maybe lock him down right now. I'm not sure. Well,
maybe
right
now.
now he's no good, right?
Mhm.
I think I can lock down Terrence Mann, though. But it's the most important thing is this. I believed even when I was making bag grades in high school and 17, 18, 19 years old and making bag grades in community college, I always believed that I could do better. I could do whatever I put my mind to. That was a strong belief of mine since I was a little child, right?
Hmm.
So that belief, this is why I say when you work with young people or kids, you always need to tie their successes to their efforts and never tie their successes to who they are in their abilities. Okay. If you lock them down and you say you're okay, let's say it another way. If you tell a child you're successful because of your abilities, or you're not successful because of your abilities, then why would they even try? They don't have the ability, so they never try. But if you
Right.
lock their successes or their lack of success to effort, you've just opened up a whole world to them because what you've done is you said you can do anything you want to do if you put your mind to it. Now that opens the whole world to them because now they understand that if I just really focus in on something, I can achieve something. So this
Mhm.
so this the reason I always say that is because that's what propelled me to be able to do and achieve whatever I want to do and achieve in life. Even when I was 19 years old, coming off a 1.75 GPA at the community college, I turned that around because I believed I could. If I didn't believe I could, I'd never try. So it's important that you tie success to effort as opposed to success to ability or innate ability.
Right.
Because if you do that, they say, I can't do it. I failed. I'm no good. I can't. Now they won't try. There's no success that comes unless you believe you can do it. So I'm a big believer in believing. And that's what I've done all of my life. When I started the eBay business, I said, I believe I can do this. Boom. Let me go out here. I had some months where I sold, $3,000 worth, $3,500 worth. Hey, we don't have no money for your college, but I think we can do something about that. I don't have any money right now. It's 2000. I have a negative $30,000 net worth, but I believe that someday I'm going to be a millionaire. Boom. So so it starts with belief, having the idea that it's achievable and that you can achieve, because otherwise, why try?
That's a
So
that's really
so
great.
you asked for a few things, man, and I think that's a few things that propelled me to get to where I am. Nothing fancy. It's not going to win me a lot of, I'm not going to get a lot of, probably won't get a lot of followers and things like that. But it's just who I am, and I can only be who I am, right? I try to stick with what I'm good at and what I know, and what's genuine to me. And so those are the types of principles that have propelled me, and I try to share and help other people. But you got to believe first. Belief is huge. So I didn't mean,
So
man, I didn't mean to make y'all speechless. I'm
No,
sorry.
listen,
no,
listen.
that's a good thing.
It's the coach. It's the coach in you.
This
I got it. It's the coach in you. I
I'm
got
all
it.
for it.
The whole time.
I am all for it. I love
I
it.
know.
When did you start? When did you make the shift into real estate, and how did real estate propel you into more financial literacy and investment schemes and things like that?
1999, man, I started watching Carlton Sheets. You ever heard of him?
Nope.
No.
No.
Carlton Sheets. He was the guru of late night infomercial. No money down. Get rich and in real estate. No money down. 1998, 99. I started watching Carlton Sheets infomercials. I sent off and got his package of information, right? Cassettes, booklets. I was rolling, right? I said, man, I want to learn this real estate thing. I think that's going to be the thing I could do. Boom, 1999. I'm working part time at Circuit City, teaching school, coaching, right? Assistant JV varsity boys coach. Um, but I started learning, and I sat behind a guy. I met a handyman. His name was Wes, and Wes was a guy who did some renovations on houses. I said, Wes, can I trail you? Can I just work with you and learn? Because I don't know much about. I don't know about. Right. I lived in apartments all my life. Right. And my mother moved a whole lot. So by the time I was in 30 years old, I had lived in I had like 20, 18, 19, 20 addresses in my life because my mom moved all the time. She
Wow.
moved everywhere. So I moved a lot, and I didn't know much about. I didn't know that electricity was necessarily behind the drywall, right? I didn't really understand. I didn't know what was above the ceiling necessarily. So I had to learn all these things, right? I was straight city. I was straight city, right? With no,
Mm-hmm.
like I say, no father around, anything like that. So I trailed this dude. I said, "Don't pay me any money. I just want to learn." So for about 3 or 4 months, I trailed him, and I learned, a little bit about electricity, how to use a fulcrum to put up a ceiling, how to cut drywall, how to that's what's underneath the carpet. Oh, so you got wood underneath the carpet, and then you also have another layer underneath, and then you got okay. So I had to learn all these things, and I did it because I wanted to know it because I knew that at some time I will own some real estate of my own. So I got to learn. So 2000, I got married, and my wife's mom gifted us. I say gifted us because we assumed the loan on her home. They
Okay.
were something called assumption loans that were around. I don't think they're around too much anymore, but that's where the U.S.
I
Yeah,
don't
you
think
just
so.
assume a loan, and they don't check your background, your credit, none of that stuff. You just assume them, take over a loan. And so we took over the loan on that house. And that same year, also, I went out and bought my first rental house from a real estate agent. He financed it for me because I was into it, right? I was learning from my man, Wes. I had my Carlton Sheet stuff. I was hyped. I was going to be a millionaire by the time, in 2 years, I was going to be a millionaire, right?
Mhm.
So lo and behold, man, that's what really propelled me into the real estate game is back then. And then over the next 3 or 4 years, I bought 6 or 7 properties and I owned 6 properties for about 9 or 10 years or so. And I lost some of them in the big deal of 2010, 2011. Around that time, I lost a few of them
Mhm.
because I bought them
Okay.
wrong. Okay, I bought them wrong, and so that because I bought them wrong, I lost them, and because I had no money, right? So lo and behold, man, that kind of is what propelled me into it. And I didn't reach all my goals in real estate, but to this day, I still own 2 properties. I still manage. I also own open lot as well, so I own some land too. But I own a couple of rentals, and I've really only dealt with those couple of rentals for the last several years. So, but it's been great. That's why I talk about real estate on my YouTube channel because you know anybody can get into real estate. Okay, it's open for everybody.
Mhm.
And I believe that it's a big piece. It's half of my net worth, but it's a big piece to growing your money because real estate over the long run, it goes up in value
Yeah.
over the long
Mm-hmm.
run. Don't stop
Yeah.
tripping about the interest rates is this and the interest rates is that. Look, man, in 10 years, ain't nobody gonna be tripping on what the interest rate was in 2022.
Right.
But if you buy a house, whether you get that house with a 10% interest rate or a 1% interest rate, in 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, that house is going to go up in value. You might refinance for a better rate by then, but who knows? You're sitting on a piece of equity,
Yep.
right? So my thing is, so you asked the question. I went off on a tangent, but that kind of propelled me into real estate, man. When I'm just the type of guy, man, to say, whatever's out there for you, I can have it too if I really want it. So let me go get it. So I'll give you another example. This summer, I played basketball full court. I tore my Achilles when I was 37 years old, right?
Oh man.
Ripped my Achilles in half. I'm playing, I'm balling. I was bouncy that day too. I was bouncy. I mean, when you ever play, you just feeling good. Dude was behind
Yeah.
me. I thought he kicked me in the back of my leg. Lo and behold, I limp over to the side, try to tighten up my shoe. You know how to do it when you hurt something. You try to tighten your shoe.
When you think, when you think it's like an ankle or anything like
Try to
that, I
go
know.
back out there, and my foot was like spaghetti. It was just hanging there.
Oh.
I had no control over it in my brain. I couldn't make my bottom of my foot move. So I slept
Mhm.
on it. Next day, I went to the there. They told me I had tore my Achilles. So that was at the age of 37. Recovered a year later. I'm still playing ball 2 times a week until I'm 49 years old. And pandemic, we kind of stopped playing. So this summer in June, I had actually May. I had arthroscopic knee surgery.
Arthroscopic, yeah.
Arthroscopic. They went in there, cleaned some stuff out, said you almost got bone on bone in one of your knees.
Mhm.
So guess what I did? I
Ooh.
said, you know what? I need to get my cardio from somewhere. I'm a workout guy, right? So I got to get my cardio. So I started swimming. Hadn't been in the
Wow.
hadn't been in the
Okay.
pool in 12 years, and I didn't learn to swim till I was 30. I learned when my kids learned, but I couldn't swim at all, really. So I took some lessons for 3 or 4 days, but I just believed I can do it, And so now I swim every other day. I'm doing laps in the pool, in the lap pool. I couldn't go down there in June. I couldn't go one length without stopping and catching my breath. I was tired, didn't know what I'm doing. But now I'm doing laps. I'm getting good cardio, lungs getting better. And I say that to say this. I just believe I can do whatever I put my mind to do. So if I believe, hey, I'm not a swimmer, I don't know much about swimming. I ain't been in the pool in 12, 13 years. I hate getting in the pool, but I need to get some cardio somewhere, and I can't run. I can't play ball, right? So I got to get cardio because I want to stay in shape. So I started swimming. In other words, I just do whatever I believe I want to do, and I feel like I can. I feel like I can do pretty much whatever I think I put my mind to, and I just go out and do it. I don't give in to fear.
Right.
Okay, I don't worry about failing. Okay, when I started buying houses, um, there's 7 people in my family: mother, father, 5 kids. I'm the youngest of 5, right?
Mhm.
Only one of us has ever owned a home besides me to this day. I have a
Mm.
sister who bought a house back in the 90s, and she's a homeowner. My dad passed away in the 90s, but nobody else owns a home. So, and I didn't come from a family of homeowners and middle class people where I came from the inner city with nothing, around people that didn't have a whole lot.
Mhm.
So for me to actually believe that I can own a home in 1999 was beyond the scope of anybody's imagination, anybody in my circle's imagination. So,
They weren't
so
thinking
I
like
just
this.
started, but I just didn't give into the fear that said, "Oh man, you can't do that. You from Kansas City, or you from the Bronx, or whatever. Ain't nobody ever owned something." I just don't give in to fear that stops me. I go past fear and I do things anyway. When I first jumped in that pool in June, I went in the deep end, man. Like, man, I might drown. I don't know if I can come up. I don't know what but I just did it anyway, right?
Mm.
I just achieved and went for it. And everything is hard at first. It was very, very difficult. This podcast you guys are doing, it's hard right now, right? I won't say it's hard, but it's difficult, right?
It is.
You're thinking like, man, I'm trying to become, earn my leisure, and we sitting up here barely making it. But listen,
Mhm.
everything is hard at first, right? But you just gotta go past fear, take that chance, take that leap, and that's what I've always done in every endeavor. Who said I could sell $100,000 worth of eBay? Right? I don't know nobody selling eBay in 2013 or 14. Who said I could put my daughter through private high school and put my other daughter through college with no debt? Now, I didn't want her to have debt because we had student loan debt that lingers. We still it lingered around. And so, it's just getting past the fear. That's another habit that move me, to kind of answer your question from earlier. So, man, you guys got me getting long-winded up here.
No, it's good. It's a lot of
Good,
information.
good content. It's really
Yeah.
good content.
It's a lot of information. I do want to say this too. I have never been a big credit guy. Okay. I didn't
Okay.
come from negative $30,000 to where I am today with credit cards or with business credit, right?
Mhm.
Or things like that. Now, did I get loans on my rental properties? Yes. I bought those with
Yes.
loans and so forth. But again, those are assets that are growing. So I
Right.
was cool with that. But I didn't have a big line of credit. I didn't go out and get business credit. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, man. Of course, I've been honest, but I'm gonna be transparent. I don't even know what my credit score is. I haven't checked my credit since 2014 when I refinanced this property I'm sitting in. I don't
Wow.
know. I don't know what my credit is. I don't care what my credit is because I don't use credit. Okay,
Interesting.
I only use credit if I'm buying something large like a home.
Right.
So I haven't
And then they do
refinanced.
credit
I
score
haven't
check.
refinanced this property since 2014. My credit score might be 850 or it might be 650. I don't know. I don't even use a credit card. So I share that with you guys to say that you ain't gotta follow the conventional ways of building wealth like everybody else. Because you're going to hear this all the time. Man, just use your credit, then put your kids on your credit card, and then you take your credit and you flip this and you pay it off. I didn't do none of that. That wasn't my formula. Now, I'm not mad at people that do that, but it just wasn't something I do. So on my YouTube channel, I got over 200 something videos. You'll never see a video about how I use credit cards because I just don't use them, and I don't want to talk about something that I haven't done myself.
Now that you mention it, I don't think I have seen a
Exactly.
credit card video on any of your channel. I don't think I've seen near one.
No, I don't even
I mean,
mention it because it just doesn't. I mean,
if he don't know it, he don't want to
yeah,
talk
I'm not
about it.
going to
It's
get into
extra
something
secret.
and push
I
something
got
I
it.
don't know anything about because that would be
Mm,
disingenuous,
Mhm.
right?
mm.
And I know that I don't know if that's what everybody does on the internet, but I only want to talk. I can only talk about and teach about and help people with things that I've done. So if you're looking for credit card arbitrage,
Look
it's not
elsewhere.
something I do. That's been sort of what I've did and some of the things that I've used over the years, man. In about 2017, Smart Money Bro came about. I'm gonna give you this story too.
Okay.
I said, you know what? I do a lot of different things. How can I help people? So I was sitting with my buddy in his office, and I said, man, what do you think I should do? And he said, well, what is all your things around? What is it all centered around? Real estate, growing your net worth, eBay business. It's all around money, right? So he said, man, maybe you ought to go with, I said, maybe Smart Money. That sounds pretty cheesy. Smart Money Bro. He said, nah, you probably don't want to use bro because then you pigeonhole yourself to only black people or only a certain genre. And I said, well,
Then
I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? I don't mind that. I'm not trying to cater to a certain group. So that's why I went ahead and stayed with Smart Money Brother. Then it was, and I became Smart Money
Mhm.
Bro to shorten it out. Because everything I do kind of falls under that umbrella of growing money,
Mhm.
whether it's side gigs, eBay, or whatever, whether it's building your net worth, managing your money, doing budgets, real estate. It all falls under growing your personal finance the old fashioned way. So that's kind of how the Smart Money Bro name came about itself. So, quick story on that. But
at least at least you took someone's opinion into the name. So I'm just saying, I'm petty.
wait a minute,
Super petty.
what's going on there?
Super petty.
You know me too well. I'm gonna be petty. That's what people come for.
Yeah, I always listen to people that I trust and believe in. Oh man, okay, I added to the fire.
No, no.
Oh, must be nice. Must be
Okay,
nice.
listen, I
Uh,
take everyone's advice here. Sometimes I just disagree. That's all. It's okay to disagree.
No. He takes someone's advice more than others. I'm petty.
nothing wrong with that. I understand what you're saying.
That's great. It's great. He listens.
Okay, so now we're gonna get into the part where I really want you to put your professor cap on because now we're gonna hit you with some really deep financial questions. I know the other two brothers got some real personal questions and real financial literacy questions that they want to hit you with. So I'm gonna let them go and ask their questions.
There
Honestly, what so
yeah,
I'll
no,
go
go ahead.
first, Jay. I'm sorry I had to cut you off. Just think about listening to your whole story when it came to real estate. And I remember when we first started talking, and you was like, you would have been in this if the market was this way, you would have had seven
Mhm.
figures. And speak in the market sense. So, are there any certain things that you trust that you invest in the most? You're like, this has been like the most trusted one when it comes to your assets. Like, what are the most trusted ones that you've seen? You're like, I invest in these the most.
Okay, so let me back up a little bit. One thing I've done for years and years is I've always contributed to whatever my job has. Okay, in terms of a
Mm.
401k or a
Mm,
TSP or something like that,
Hmm.
and I always have examined where they invest their money. I didn't just throw it at the 401k or whatever and say, "Oh, okay, I'm just going to trust whatever they say." I always go in there because sometimes, many times, in those 401ks or 403bs or TSPs, you have options, right? So one of the things that I've done over the years, I've been blessed enough to be able to work for the federal government, which has a thrift savings plan or a TSP, which is just like a 401k, which is for profit, or 403b, which is non for profit, right? Not for profits have a 403b.
Hmm.
So I've always
Mhm.
invested there, okay, because it's been fairly safe. The $10,000 that I told you about earlier that I brought over to the federal government in
From teaching.
2002, I
Uh-huh.
haven't touched it. Okay, I
mm,
haven't touched it at all. I haven't got a loan on it. Haven't withdrew any money out of it. As far as I know, that $10,000, and I just checked my TSP account, so that $10,000 is still in there growing. It's been growing for the last 30 years, right? Since, well, 28 years, since 1994 when it first started, when I first became a teacher.
Okay.
So the first thing that I say I trust in when it comes to investments is not just 401ks, but make sure you do your research to understand what that company is investing in that 401k.
mm,
That's pretty important because if you don't like what they're investing in, still get their match. Maybe they got a 3% match at your job, still get that match, but then take the rest that you want to invest, say, in the market and go and do your own investing. Now, the other thing is, I'm not a big fan of individual stocks. Okay.
mm,
Now,
mm.
I don't have a problem with them, but I'm saying that sometimes, unless you have enough of them, you're not spreading your risk around enough. Okay, if you only have three, you Amazon, Alphabet, and Procter and Gamble,
Apple.
yeah,
Mm,
Apple, then that's not enough, right? If you're going to have individual stocks, go ahead and make sure you got 20, 30, 50, 75 individual stocks. So you spread your risk out a little bit,
Hmm.
right? So that's really important. So, but for that reason, I'm more of a fan of index funds. Okay. I'm a big index fund guy. I'm not a huge mutual fund guy because you're paying fees, and I'm speaking in generalities here. Typically, you're going to pay more fees on a mutual fund than you pay on an index fund. An index just follows a certain sector of the market, it's non managed.
Mm.
A mutual fund is managed. So, guess what a mutual fund comes with? Fees to pay the managers, right?
Hmm.
So I'm not a big fan of mutual funds. I'm not a big fan I'm not the biggest fan of stocks, individual stocks. I like index funds. Okay. I like because it's very simple. I don't want to sit there and look at charts on six different monitors every day. Okay. On my computer
Mm.
screens, right? I don't want to do that. So I don't want to look at individual stocks. I like to set it and forget it. That's me personally, just my opinion. And therefore, index funds, because they have a lower fees, is wonderful. And so the other place is obviously real estate, and we talked about that a lot. So real estate is super safe, man. And I know you can have an issue like 2008 and 2009, right, where all of a sudden, even you'll see it right now. You see home prices that were a little bit high; they're starting to go down a little bit, right?
Hmm.
I'm a buy and
Mm-hmm.
hold guy, right? So if I buy a piece of real estate, and I haven't bought a piece of real estate in a number of years, but when I do buy real estate again in 3 or 4 years, I buy it to hold. I don't buy it to flip. I don't buy it. I buy it to keep it. And if you keep real estate, you're going to be fine. It's a great investment. If you decide to keep real estate 5, 10, 15, 20 years out, I don't care what interest rate you buy it at, it's a pretty good investment. You'll be fine. So, real estate and index funds, those are the big ones for me that I really like the most.
real
Great.
estate and
Go ahead.
index funds.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh,
You
man.
took you took your notes.
I
You
got my
good?
notes.
Yeah. Vanguard, man. Vanguard is, man, the guy that invented Vanguard is Jack Bogle. He just died in his 90s a couple of years ago. But
Mm,
he didn't really invent index funds, but he was the first to package them up in one company. That company is Vanguard. Good company, solid. Lot of millionaires and billionaires have money in Vanguard. So I like Fidelity too, but there's all type of places to invest your money. I don't do a lot of app investing, right? I'm not a Robinhood guy and those type of
mm,
guys.
Hmm.
I like really, really, really established investment houses, right? Merrill Lynch, TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard. I like really, really stable ones that have been around a long time. I don't want to put $100,000 in a stockpile because
Okay.
I'm
I
just not
respect it.
sure what's going to happen.
I think that a lot of people use these like investment apps. Like for example, I've been just about on every one of them. I was on Stash, I was on Acorns, I was on Robinhood for a while. I think the longest one I was with Robinhood. Now I'm on Public because Public seems like they just have like they seem more in tune with the user as opposed to all the other ones. I think because it just came out, so they got a little bit of ahead of the game to see where the other ones kind of messed up. But
Right,
Public seems like it has like more personalized, but like you say, it has more individual stocks. So I'm trying to get into the index part and the ETF part,
right.
where that's where I'm trying to put my money at now. So I see where you're coming from because Charles Schwab, even MetLife, or the other ones that you mentioned, they those are some big names.
They've been around a long time. Listen,
Hmm.
Fidelity has a great app that I've heard some good things about. If you're thinking about that, but I'm an old school dude, man. I'm not, So as an old school dude, man, I just started doing online banking like a year and a half ago, man. So I'm old school. So I'm a little, I won't say leery, but I don't really like to get too much into the investment apps. If I got a lot of money, man, I think I want to put that money with somewhere, where the company's been around a long time. But that's just me being old school, being an old fogey, I guess. But
Yeah, ain't
so
nothing wrong with that.
yeah, so ETFs are cool
Can
too,
be
man. I like those as well. ETFs and index funds and things like that. Those are great, man.
can't be an old fogey if the way just works. There's a difference. People just like I know there's always a good way to look for new stuff, but if some things work, there's a difference.
Absolutely.
It's not. There's nothing to do
Yeah.
about it.
Say you have more questions.
Oh no, I want producer
Okay.
Jay to
Go
get
ahead.
one.
So obviously, a lot of your audience who come and seek your information, they're probably already in debt and they're looking for ways to get out of it or to manage it better. When you're in serious debt, what would be like? What would you say are your best options for debt that can't be paid off so easily, based on like their income or whatever?
Good question. So the first thing is this: when you have debt, you've got to figure a way. Number one, you've got to figure a way to somehow get an emergency fund. Okay, this is why I say that. If you're in a lot of debt and you have no emergency money, what are you probably going to end up doing? Going,
Getting
if
a
something
loan
go wrong, what's going
or
to happen?
getting
That
big.
you're going
More
to more
debt.
debt,
Hmm.
More
right?
debt.
All right.
Yeah,
So the way to get off that hamster wheel first and foremost is to go ahead and try to save up some money for an emergency fund. So when the washer and dryer goes out, you got some cash,
Hmm.
right? You don't have to go and charge it on your credit card.
Right.
Or when the tire busts on it, or it's winter and it starts snowing, you say, "Man, I've been needing two front tires for 2 years." You have some money to go out and get your front tires, and you don't have to go into debt, right? Because if you're in debt, you got to stop the cycle of debt, right?
Right.
How do you stop the cycle of debt? Make sure you have some money to the side in case something goes wrong. I always suggest people just do something as simple as just every time you get a check, just drop $100 into an emergency fund. Just drop $100, right? $100 over, that's $200 a month. That's $2,400 a year. If you don't really touch it, you have no big emergencies. That's almost 5 grand in 2 years. All you was doing is dropping $100 in there, right? That's that's lunch 6 or 7 times a month, plus a Starbucks a few times a month, and one night out. That's $100 every 2 weeks. Ends up literally being almost $5,000 in 2 years, and you can take care of almost any emergency you come up with 5 grand, right?
Well,
Now, if you do that, Now you can begin to say, how am I going to attack my debt? Right? But if you don't even have an emergency fund and you're trying to attack debt, or if you're trying to start a business and you're trying and you have a bunch of debt, so I always say, first thing, make sure you have an emergency fund. First things first. But secondly, in terms of looking at your debt, you have to come up with a plan. And one of the plans, and I'm a Dave Ramsey guy. I used to listen to Dave Ramsey a lot. I don't listen to him too much anymore, but because I don't believe everything he says. I believe some things he says. But one of the things I do like is to get out of debt. Debt snowball, debt avalanche, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
You got to figure out a plan to roll up these debts, because these debts are just sitting on which side of the balance of the net worth equation. Assets or liabilities. Debts are sitting over here on the liabilities, right?
Mhm.
The more debt you have, the lower your net worth is going to be, or the more assets you got to build up to offset these liabilities, this debt. So you want to figure a plan to pay the debt off as soon as you can. Now, when I say debt, I'm talking about at least the debt that is not appreciating, right? I'm not saying you got to pay off your home necessarily,
Right.
right? But I'm saying if you got the credit card debt, you got the student loan debt, get a plan, try to pay it off as soon as possible. I like the debt snowball. I mean, we were using that. I didn't even call it debt snowball. We called it something. You probably guys have probably never heard of Crown Ministries, have you?
No.
It sounds familiar.
Yep.
It
Back in the
sounds familiar.
2000s, Crown Ministry was sort of the precursor to what Dave Ramsey does, right? But we were using a debt roll up. We called it a debt roll up back then, and it's just a way of listing all of your debts. Some people like to do it smallest interest rate to largest. I like to do it smallest debt to largest,
Hmm.
and just you take a little bit of money, extra money you have. That's why you got to do a budget, so you have some money between your income and expenses. Take that extra money, put it towards your first debt. Then take all that money, put it towards your second debt. All that money roll up, so you got to come up with a plan to attack your debt at some point. Okay, so that I hope that kind of hit on your a couple things to do in terms of your questions, right? Your question:
Yes.
emergency fund, a plan to attack the debt, perhaps a debt roll up or a debt snowball plan to do it. But it's very doable. I have a YouTube video that shows you can just take $400 or $500 a month, pay off $68,000 in 4 years with the debt roll up. If you just and I got I got examples and everything in that video, but it's just showing you that it's not impossible, right? You can do it. Quick story about me. Even today, with the net worth that I have $9,000 worth of debt still hanging around. And you're
Mm.
saying, man, why you don't get rid of 9,000? Because I had a debt roll up plan and I'm just now finishing it up.
Right.
Mm.
And so in the next few months, 2 or 3 months, we're going to be totally done with it. But I had a surprise too from the IRS that gave me a couple of thousand. But otherwise, so that's my key is get a plan.
Nice.
So I hope
Tay, Jeremy, you
Nice.
got any more?
Honestly, a lot of his things answered a lot of the questions I might have had in the background, other than just asking him about
Okay.
himself.
I have one more. So obviously you've gotten into like you've used loans to invest and get real estate or whatever it is you need. So for people who are looking into getting into like long-term loans, what are some key information points that you would say to look out for anybody getting into it?
when you say long term loans, you mean like real estate?
Real estate or even like a car loan or anything like that, mortgage, um, just anything that seems a lot for people.
Okay, car loan, don't do it. That was quick, right?
Yeah, I
Car
mean,
loan, don't do it. Cars go down in value. That's they depreciate. Do what you can to save up money. Now, if you think you're going to need a car in 9, 10 months, do what you can to save up that money. Try to get the car, and you don't have to get the fanciest car. Try to get a car that you can pay cash for, right?
right.
And if you and okay, this. I wrote a whole book about. I didn't tell you guys that, but I got 2 books on Amazon.
Oh wow.
One book on Amazon is how to buy a good used car. Okay.
Hmm.
And I decided to write that book because my niece was looking for a car. Her and her husband was looking for a car a couple of years ago. And I said, well, just check some things out on the internet. It was nothing on the internet to learn how to buy a used car. So I said, let me write a book about it. So I got 70 something tips in that book about things you need to be looking for.
Wow.
I mean, everything from how, the paint, the scratches, how it sounds, everything.
Mm.
And so I'm not a big fan of buying cars with debt. Okay, if you can, try to avoid it, and if you can't, try to pay off that loan as soon as possible. Right?
Hmm.
Try to come with $5,000 down and buy you a 10 or 12, $15,000 car and pay that off in a matter of months as quick as possible, or 8, 9, 10 months. But in terms of real estate, and other things, in terms of a loan, it's always the rate and the term. Okay, the rate and the term. It's those two. And then when I say term, I mean the length, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
is it the lower the rate, obviously, the better, but also how long is it for? Now I've had this debate with a lot of people. Should I get a 15-year mortgage on a property or a 30-year mortgage on a property? Right? You've heard that debate, right?
Mm-hmm. I have.
And people even nowadays, they have 40-year mortgages, right?
Yeah.
Which you could basically sign your life away, right? 40-year mortgage. Um, I'm always a big proponent, obviously, because I'm not a debt guy, of trying to get the lowest term, the least amount of length of time as possible, because it's sure you pay a little more upfront right now, right? I'll just give you a real example. In 2005, I bought my house. I bought it on an 80/20 loan, which was stupid, but I had no money. I didn't have no money.
Hmm.
80/20 loan meant that 80% was the finance principal. The other 20% was kind of like a HELOC at a 9% interest for 20% of the loan.
Mm.
Point being is that I stayed in that stupid loan until 2014. Now, I was in that loan till 2014. I bought the house for 187,000. By the time 9 years later came around in 2014, I still owed 178,000 on the property. So I only paid it down $9,000. Is that 9,000? Yeah, about $9,000 over the course of 9 years.
Damn.
Now, because you're not paying nothing on the principal,
Right.
you're just paying like
You just
$10 a month on the principal.
yeah.
So now,
Mhm.
in 2014, the last time I checked my credit that I told you guys about, I switched that over to a 15-year mortgage. Now I've paid the house off in the last 8 years from 178,000 to about 104,000.
Mm.
So in 8 years, I lopped off $74,000, whereas in 9 years, I lopped off about $9,000.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Which one's better? To me, in my mind, my simple, logical mind, if you're getting a home loan today and you got to pay an extra $300 a month, then you want to get the 15-year mortgage, because what if you want to move in 4 or 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Now you have a whole lot
Mm.
more equity because you paid a lot more of the principal off up front.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And what if you don't want to move and you say, you know what, I want to stay in that 15-year more. I'm going to stay in this home for the next 20 years. Well, in 15 years, it's paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed, so if my home right now, which I owe about 104,000 on, it would be paid off. It would have been paid off in 2020 had I got a 15-year mortgage. But since we don't know what the future holds, why not pay as much as you can up front? Now, some people hate that advice because they say, get a 30-year mortgage. You never know what's going to happen in your situation. You can always pay extra to pay it off quicker. And that's cool too. It's really a matter of preference. But I like to tell people to bite the bullet and pay it off quicker, because you may want to move in a few years and you have more equity. So I hope that was a real life example. Again, I try to be as transparent as I can, because I'm living all this stuff I'm talking to you guys about.
Right.
And so I have examples of this stuff throughout my own personal situation. So anytime you see me in the Blackout Coalition group on Facebook or
Mm-hmm.
any other group, or on YouTube in my channel, I'm talking about things that I've experienced and I know. And that way I'm not just, giving you some fluff or trying to, BS my way through whatever I'm doing. And so I try to use real examples, but that's an example of, kind of what I think in terms of loans and what you should look for. The interest rate and the terms. All right.
Okay.
Those are the most important things.
Good to know.
All right. So to close this out, I want you to define these three financial terms for us that I think people really either don't understand and don't have a concept of, but affects us every single day. So the first one I want you to define is net worth. You talked about your net worth. You talked about how you had a negative net worth, and I bet you right now a lot of us don't know what our net worth is. So can you actually tell us what our net worth is? I mean, what a net worth is?
Net worth is just assets minus liabilities. what you own minus what you owe. Okay. So if you and anybody can figure this, it'd take you about 5 minutes to sit down and do this, right? Or less than that. Get out a piece of paper, put a
Hmm.
line straight down the middle of the paper, put assets at the top on the left side, put liabilities at the top on the right side. What do you own? Put it on the left side. Okay. So if you own a home, let's say you own a home and the home is worth $200,000, right? Modest home. Let's say you own a car, the car is worth $30,000, or let's say $20,000. That's $220,000. Let's say that's all you own. Then you go over to the liability side and say, how much do you owe on that home? You write that number down. Let's say you owe, $200,000, right? And then let's say you look at your car and say, how much do you owe on the car? I owe zero on the car. So now if you add those two columns up, you got a $20,000 net worth, right? Because your assets is $220,000. Your liability is $200,000. I'm giving you a real basic example, but now you do a subtraction and now you have a net worth of $20,000. You may do that equation and you may have a negative net worth, which is what I had when I was 30 years old. And that's okay too. But that's what a net worth is. And everybody can do that. And if you do that exercise 2, 3, 4 times a year and really start to concentrate on, let me build this up. Oh, that it doesn't fit my net worth. That's going to bring my net worth down. I may not want to do that. It helps you make decisions if you want your net worth to grow. And I think
Next,
that's what we should be doing.
good stuff. Good stuff. The next one I want you
Okay.
to define for us is whole life insurance versus term life insurance.
Whole life insurance. Woo, man.
Mm-hmm.
Woo. When you air this, right, you're going to have some people you know, that love whole life insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big lover of whole life insurance. So I'm going to be real basic with it, okay? The whole life insurance is life insurance. There's different types of whole life insurance, right? Universal and, variable life, whatever. But in general, whole life insurance is insurance that you buy and you keep it for the rest of your life and you pay on it, right? You can pay on it the rest of your life as well. And it's usually a little more expensive than, say, a term life. Now, term, again, as I mentioned earlier with that question, term is all about the length, right? So term life allows you to have life insurance for a set length of time, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever you decide to buy. And it runs out. When that term is over, you have no more insurance. But it's a lot cheaper. It's a much more cheaper product. You might buy a whole life policy that has a face value, meaning what it pays out, of $100,000. And that might cost you $400 a month. You might have a term life policy that has a face value that it pays out of $500,000, but you only got to pay about $20 a month as opposed to $400 a month.
Mm.
So there's a difference there. You pay a whole lot for whole life insurance, and you pay monthly much, 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 much less for term. Now, one of the caveats of whole life insurance is that you can, after a certain point, it builds up cash value that you can actually borrow from, right? But it usually takes a good 8, 9, 10, 12 years to build up enough cash value that is nominal, that is at the right word, that is enough for anything, right? It builds up slowly. So people say, yeah, you can get rich with cash value life insurance. Whole life, you can get rich. But the problem with that is, what are you doing after those 10 years? You're going to borrow money so you can go and borrow some more money, put down on something that you can borrow from. And you get what I'm saying? You're moving money, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And in the meantime, you paid $400 a month. Now, if you borrow from a cash value insurance, you don't necessarily have to pay it back, but it reduces that face value of $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at the end of that, if you never pay it back, that's cool. You just reduce the face value, which you spent 10 years paying $400 a month from. You just reduced because you didn't pay back your loan. But there's a lot of people on the internet that love whole value. And and the other thing about whole life insurance is that it's kind of complicated. Okay. And so all of the quirks and things about it, it's not a bad product for everybody. I'm not saying it's horrible, because there's certain people, especially if you are a person that has a lot of money. Let's say you got millions. There's nothing wrong with having some cash life or cash value life and whole life insurance too. But if you like the regular Joe, like me started with nothing, I'm not going to ever tell you to build your wealth with cash value life insurance, because it's going to take 10, 15 years for you to even have enough in there to do anything with. Okay. So I'm not going to tell you, because, if you starting like me, I'm going to tell you, go ahead and pay $20 a month for a 15-year term life insurance. Pay $20 a month, get you about $500,000. Take the other $380,000 and start investing like a maniac, because in 15 years you want to be self-insured. In 15 years, you want to be able to say, you know what, I don't even need life insurance, right? Because I got $1 million in the bank.
Right.
I got $1.5 million. My family's well taken care of. So that's the end goal of term insurance. Don't just get term insurance and not invest the money, because then you kind of defeat the purpose. You got to get more term insurance, after the 15 years up, and then you're older and it costs more. So I'm a term life insurance guy. I like it more than whole life, but I understand that for people that have money already, there's nothing wrong with investing some of that money into a whole life policy, right? So you get guys on the internet like, what's the rapper's name? Waka Flocka?
Waka Flocka Flame, yeah.
I sound like I'm speaking a different language, but you get what I'm saying. This guy right here, I saw him on a clip talking about, I just dropped, a couple $1 million in a whole life policy, and everybody's looking at that like, oh, we got to go out and get whole life. No, Waka Flocka Flame, he's got $10 million, right? Mm-hmm. So how he builds wealth from life insurance is different than how me and you are going to build wealth from it. Because he's opening the policy with $2 million. Me and you are opening the policy with nothing. And it's going to take 10, 15 years for us to build cash value life insurance. To me, that's not the right mentality for a person that wants to build wealth. Get you some term, invest the money in wherever you want to invest, index funds, mutual funds, whatever, and then build that investment up over time. That's my suggestion. So I'm sorry, I went on a tangent. Whole life versus term.
No, this is good stuff, man. All the little nuggets and all the little pieces of information we are here for. I think that's the last one that I had.
Okay.
Tay, Producer Jay, y'all want to say anything before we wrap this up?
No.
I got none but just greatness that I heard. Great.
You covered a lot of ground with this podcast, so very informative.
I think it's going to help out a lot of people once they hear this.
I appreciate you guys having me on, man, and I appreciate you guys for what you're doing. Right? Remember, everything you're going to do is going to start hard. Mm-hmm. It's going to start hard. It's going to take some time. Well, I don't care if it's a budget. I don't care if it's a YouTube channel. I don't care if it's, working at whatever job or whatever trade or whatever college. It's always hard in the beginning. It gets better along the way, right? Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the process, because the process is what's going to make you who you want to become, right? It's all about what are you becoming, right? Who cares about what Brother Jay was a month ago? It's all about what Brother Jay is becoming, right? And the process and that time that's what's going to make you who you're going to eventually be. It's all about becoming. Enjoy the process where you guys are going. But I appreciate you guys having me on, man. And listen, if I can do anything for you guys, always feel free to give me a shout. And check out that YouTube channel, Smart Money Bro. I don't get paid from that. I get nothing from that. I just enjoy helping other people and spreading some knowledge, man, that might be a little different, because I know that I'm not the cup of tea for the millennials. Okay, I know that. I already know that. I'm comfortable with that, right? The people that hit me up the most are like 40 years old and found out that the get rich quick stuff they were trying to do at 25 and 30 didn't work. Now I'm in this job, man, what can I do to build this? I made some mistakes, and he's 40 years old, got 2 little kids. And this is the typical person that hits me up and says, man, what should I do? So again, I'm not that cup of tea for the young folks, but if you want to hear something that's a little different, that's a little bit more patient, it's not necessarily get rich quick, I'm your guy.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. And we appreciate you for taking the time out. I know this was a long time coming too, so I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come chop game with us. We could probably have you on again in the future. I could see this being a recurring thing, because you got a lot of stuff that we can't cram in an hour and change. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough, but whatever you guys want to talk, real estate, money, personal finance, and even if you want to dig into and help your audience with government contracting,
Mm.
understanding if you have a small business, what you need to do to get a government contract,
We
because
got a
that's
plug, y'all. You hear that? We got a plug. We got a plug, y'all. So
yeah, that's a big one, man. There's a lot of people
I
out
feel
there that
like
got business. They want to have a. They want
every other 3 weeks we get closer to the government somehow, some way.
well, you want to get close to the government money, right?
Yes.
Government pays on time, man. Government pays.
It does, not wrong. But like every other week we get closer to the government somehow, some way. So the people running for it, people make contracts for it, we get closer to it every
listen,
other week.
we trying to get out there, man. We trying to get our name out there.
That's
You know what I
good.
mean? Brother
Oh,
Tate,
so-
just remind everybody where they can find us. You know the deal.
Do I? I don't have it. Let me stop. If you want to reach out to us, any questions, anything, just to reach out to us, you can reach us out on email at excusemebrotherpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to reach out to us on social media, you can hit me up. I read them all the time. It's on Instagram. It's excuse_me_brother with the A, not the ER, because it's racist. If at any time you can you can subscribe to any of our channel. You can subscribe to our channel on YouTube at the Excuse Me Brother Podcast YouTube channel. Comments, we read the comments. I know I do. I don't know. No, I know I do. That's all that matters. And please subscribe to us or wherever you hear this, from Apple to Spotify to Google Chrome, whatever you need.
We're also
Oh,
on,
we also,
Always reach out.
we
We're
got-
always there.
go ahead, Producer Jay. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
we just created
then-
a Facebook and we have a TikTok page, so you can follow us on there.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yes, like us on Facebook, Brother Bowie. We just made it this week. Got a new Facebook page. I'm gonna tag you when we post a link to this video.
Mhm.
We're gonna send it to you so that way you can post it on your YouTube page, and I'm probably gonna put it in some of the groups that we're in, the Blackout Coalition and the other groups that we're in, so that way they can see our good works because we're trying to do some work out here. You know what I mean?
Excellent. Appreciate it, man. That's yeah. Let me know where you guys are. I'll definitely peep it out. When it comes, just give me a shout, shoot me an email, or you've been texting me. Is that Brother Jay that been texting me?
Yes, that's me. Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
so yeah, just let me know when it comes out, and I'll be more than happy to push and promote and do what I can to help you guys. And get on YouTube, man.
Yes.
Get on YouTube, man. I want to see you guys on YouTube also.
And you heard the way,
Are you guys on
yeah,
YouTube?
and you heard the way he talks.
Are you guys?
You heard the way he talks. He's
Thank
intelligent,
you, I
brother.
appreciate it. Are you guys on YouTube?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent.
It's the Excuse Me Brother channel. Excuse Me Brother podcast channel.
Push. Awesome. I appreciate it, man. Thank you guys so much, and
No problem.
you guys have a blessed one. All
You
right.
too.
Send you.
All right. Take care.
Have a great night.